Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you, Fifir, my colleagues, those joining us in the Tribune, online, or in radio. A 4-year mandate is what is being celebrated here today, Mr. Chairman, and loudly so. The first in our young country's history, and the banner which this government waves so proudly as they drive around. Salaries, bills, and reconstruction paid for, thanks in large part to the Leona Marlin government and to this opposition faction that I'm representing today. Mr. Chairman, I offer up a moment of silence. A moment to recall the statements made by members of this current coalition that the same Leona Marlin government had the country for sale and that the trust fund would have no future in St. Martin with them at the helm. Their conviction was so strong that they found it necessary to drop government in 2019, only to have to put their tails between their legs and implement and execute the very same trust fund. It's not rocket science to recognize, St. Martin, that they knew they couldn't change it, that the reasons for toppling government in 2019 were false, and that they've worked tirelessly since 2020 to manipulate you into believing that they've succeeded where all others have failed. It's cute to claim victory after bombing your predecessors, or very neo-colonial of them. For the naysayers and the critics, the proof is on YouTube. One of their ministers stated at a public event in June of this year that the trust fund is the best thing that could have happened to St. Martin. And I've got the clip if anyone needs it. Mr. Chairman, a second moment of silence. For the complacency of current coalition members who, for the sake of their own position, have continued to demonstrate a rabid willingness, almost an urgency, to set aside principles of good governance and accountability from the beginning. The most glaring examples from this term are the Vineyard Heights land debacle, the SARE debacle, and the Ombudsman's Waste Management Report. Do not forget, St. Martin, how your High Council of State was disregarded, disrespected, and called into question by the very members of Parliament who put her there. This faction hasn't. In fact, when we tried to hold the minister accountable for his poor handling and decision-making, they threw a Hail Mary from the borders of Panama to save him. Mr. Chairman, another moment of silence, please. For all the times this government and its supporters focus more on clout, clickbait, and patting themselves on the back for doing the bare minimum. For having the meeting to plan to have the meeting for the plan. For being so far beyond the limit of their Peter principle that they congratulate themselves for being impressive on the international stage. And then when we, the people, check a news source that's not committed to their pockets, it turns out that our international reputation at certain labor organizations is in the trash can. And Mr. Chairman, one final moment of silence. For the people of St. Martin, who over the past 4 years have become even more left behind, not left behind by the people that this coalition tries to attack with weak challenges to integrity and performance, but by those who claim to be one while still messing things up. By those trotting all the works of others and calling it their own, pretenders on seats they had to force themselves into. And again, I have to begrudgingly admire the blatant imperialism of it all. I guess they are more like the Dutch than they think. 4 uneasy moments for 4 uneasy years. And imagine the impact on the people of St. Martin. I'm not without some grace for this government, Mr. Chairman. These have been challenging times, but they were challenging before they climbed over the remains of the previous one to sit there, so I'm not convinced much grace is warranted. Nevertheless, I have it, however small the amount may be. As we move into a new parliamentary year, Mr. Chairman, with the January election looming, I just have one main question, one that I've had since 2020, one that the people still have. What is the actual plan? When politics continues to be played at our most critical government-related company, GEBE, because rewards promised must be rewards given, and others like the Port and Telem, what's the actual plan? When members of ministerial cabinets are deployed like henchmen to people in our community, threatening them about biting the hand that feeds them and pressuring them to be silent when basic public services are withheld from them, what's the actual plan? When government tendering is still not regulated by any form of binding fiscal management, not even that pesky al-Beham from Article 46 of the Accountability Ordinance, that seems so difficult to do, maybe I should submit that one too. What's the actual plan? when we're getting reports that the grid market engagement may be in jeopardy because the monsters in the closet with the alternative solution have reared their heads again, what's the actual plan? When Turning Point is sounding the alarm that things are beyond not okay in our schools and our streets, but to date it's been landing on deaf ears, I ask again, what is the plan? When a minister comes to Parliament in the 11th hour of his term and provides a presentation for the revitalization of education, culture, youth, and sports as though it's day 1, 2020, what is the actual plan, bro? The disease of mediocrity and the dis-ease that we continue to create both at home and abroad continues to corrupt this noble art of governance and expose us as bad faith partners. So while stability has been the only original takeaway of this government, let us not forget that it came at the hands of a mature opposition faction unwilling to take many phone calls that came over the course of these 4 years to topple this government. Because we believe that the best way to represent the people is to do that part of our job that is the most important and actually work to hold this government accountable for their decisions, good, bad, or plain old terrible. Because we believe that every time a government falls, projects get set back, prices increase, and the people suffer. Because we believe that for far too long, personal agenda dictated stability rather than sentiments on core issues relevant to the public interest. These 4 years of stability allowed the reconstruction projects to occur, the same ones that the previous governments booted out for. So yes, you're welcome for not being the kind of opposition that many of you proved you were. At the same time, though, I have been asked, Melissa, stability at what cost? Stability, but the level of accountability has slipped dangerously low, and the sense of entitlement, arrogance, and disregard for good governance, the people, and the future of this country have peaked, proving that stability is really just a word, and you could be stable in a hospital, but you're still in a damn hospital. Mr. Chairman, we shall see what this new year of Parliament brings. My hope is less self-aggrandizing, more clarity on several topics, most notably GEBE, and our current standing at the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, as well as the finalization of the Cut the Curtain proposal, which I believe will reshape what the election results look like. And to those in the community who have come to us with their complaints and concerns of retaliation for speaking out against mistreatment by this government, know this: you are already braver, better, and more honorable than many who carry that title in here and across the road can claim to be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.